Hello everyone, and welcome to our Webform tutorial. Today we're going to demonstrate how to set up email notifications for your web forms. Setting up email notifications are important for three reasons. First, it serves as confirmation to your users that information has been submitted. You can also use this opportunity to add additional information to the email body. The second reason is in the event the customer needs to follow up with the agency, they can use their email confirmation as a point of reference. And lastly, the agency can ensure the right point of contact is notified through email when the user submits the data. Now that we've talked about the three reasons for setting up an email confirmation, let's briefly outline the needed steps. First, we will add the email element to your web form so we can reference the element later in the tutorial. Next, we will use our Emails Handlers tab to set up our user email notification. As best practice, we encourage you to allow your users to receive an email notification for every web form you create. You can also set up a separate notification for your agency as well. I will walk you through the steps of adding the necessary email components. And lastly, I will give you some tips on adding information to the body field. Now that I've provided an outline for the tutorial, let's get started. For this tutorial, we will use the February Webform Beginners Training web form. On the right-hand side of the page, let's click the gray Build button. We want to confirm that the email element has been added to this web form. Since it hasn't, we'll add it now. On the left side of the page, click the Add Element button. Now in the search field, you're going to type the word email so we can select the email element. We're going to click the blue Add Element button, and an Add Email Element window is going to appear on the right-hand side. There's only one field that is required, and that is the title field, and we're going to simply call it email. But you can call it whatever you choose. So we're going to scroll to the bottom, and in the form validation section, decide whether or not you want this field to be required. In this case, we will not make it required. And we're going to go ahead and click the blue Save button. Now, highlighted in green, you'll see the email element has been added, but we want to move that just above the phone number. So we're going to move it now by clicking on the crosshairs and moving it just above the phone number. Now we've moved it. Now we need to save it as a way of confirming the position of this email element field now. So we'll click the blue Save Elements button. And now the email has been added to this particular web form. Now that we've added the email element, let's set up the email notifications. In the Settings tab at the top of the page, click the Settings tab. On the second tier of tabs, select the Emails Handlers tab. You will see two buttons, one for Add Email and one for Add Handler. Typical use case is to create two email handlers, one for the agency notification and one for the end user notification. The reason being is so that you can customize each handler to fit your need. For the sake of time, we will only set up the end user notification. Click the Add Email button. In the title field, we want to update the title to read End User Email Notification, or something to distinguish the agency email from the end user notification. So I'll just simply call this one End User Email Notification. You can certainly call it whatever you choose in this particular case. Now that I've updated the title for the end user notification, I will move down to the Send To section. In the To Email Select option dropdown, we want to click the dropdown and reference the email field that we just added to our web form. So under the Elements heading, we'll go ahead and click Email. And so what this does is once the user clicks the Submit button, it will send them a confirmation email of the submission data. The Send From section allows you to configure where the email originated. In the From Email and From Name Select Options dropdown, you can leave the configuration as is or can add custom email address or name. Leaving it as the default will usually print out the site name and site email address, which was already pre-configured when we initially set up your website. The email will usually read no reply and domain name. For the most part, you can leave the defaults as is to avoid confusion. In the Reply To section, leave the Reply To Email Select dropdown to its default. Now let's move to the Message section. Okay, here you have the opportunity to customize the subject and body fields. The subject field can be left as the default, and the email notification will display the web form node title as the subject once you've attached the web form to a web form node. In this case, we're going to add a custom subject. So to do so, we're going to click the Select dropdown, and we're going to select Custom Subject. So I've already kind of added a title here, but let's just re-add it again, called Confirmation Sign Up for Web Form Training. And that is our new custom subject. Okay, now we're going to move down just a little further down to the body section. And you can certainly leave it as the default as well. And the user will automatically get information pertaining to the date that they completed the form, as well as all of the submission values that they've entered in while filling out that web form. Since this is the end user notification, we now have the opportunity to customize it. So we're going to do so in this particular case. So instead of the default, we're going to click this drop down. We're going to click Custom Body. And now what we're going to do is we're going to paste some information in. I've already written it out for the sake of time, but I'm going to hit Enter once. And then I'm going to paste that information in. I'm going to clean this up. Okay, and so basically what it's saying, it says, thank you, whatever the person's first and last name is for signing up for the class. It provides some additional instructions on what to do prior to the class, as well as where to send their ID to. It could be as simple as that, or you can add any other details that you see fit for your web form. Now you see the information here where it says submitted on and the submitted values. You want to make sure you leave that information in, because once the user clicks submit, they're going to get that information as well. So that submission, that web form submission values token actually is a list of all of the information that they filled out on that web form. So now we're going to move down just a little bit until we see the include email values markup section. Here is just simply a list of all of the data, all the fields that are part of your web form that you can include when the user gets their email notification. So you can actually uncheck some of these, but 99% of the time, you're going to submit all of this data with the exception of the CAPTCHA. So every web form should have a CAPTCHA field in it, but we want to uncheck that. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck that right now. Leave all the rest of the configurations as is. You're going to see this attachment field here. Simply skip that. We do not allow attachments for security reasons. And now we're going to click the Save button. Now, once we click the Save button, you can now see we've added our first email handler. So if we wanted to add the agency user handler, we'll simply go through the same process all over again. So you'll see the title of the notification, all the email summary here. The status here is enabled. So if you are doing some testing and you've already had an email agency included, most of the time you want to go ahead and disable it initially so you don't bombard everybody with email notifications. Okay, so that's it. We've added everything we wanted to, configured the email notification. We've included the email field that we needed to in this web form to ensure that we could take advantage of that at the end when we configured our end user email notification. So we want to make sure that we go ahead and do some testing. So we'll go ahead and let's do a quick test. So we're going to do that by going to test. So it's already pre-filled with all the information that we want. But for the email though, we want to go ahead and add a real email address in there. So we're going to go ahead and add an email address. And then we're going to go ahead and click submit. Okay. And that's it. And so now I should have an email in my inbox. And so we're now going to take a look and see what that looks like. Okay, now I've received my email notification. And so what we're going to do is a quick review just so you can see what we filled out and what's actually appearing on our email notification. So if you see at the top here where it says confirmation sign up web form training, so that actually corresponds to our custom subject that we added, which says confirmation sign up for web form training. Now, if we scroll down a little bit to the custom body area, where it says thank you. In this particular case, they call it is called Paul Lennon. These tokens actually represent the person's first and last name, and it has all the other text down below that we've added that we pasted in. On the submitted on, it puts the date that the web form was submitted. And the submission values are, which is this token here, the web form submissions values, list all of the information that was filled out. Okay, and so it seems that everything is working as we expected. And that's it. I still encourage you to continue to test it a couple more times in using different scenarios to ensure that the web form does work the way you anticipate, making any changes during those testing times. And we thank you for joining.